So let's see what we will be covering today. So these are the various subtopics that we will cover today. Mainly this will introduce you to the world of map through examples. We will talk about various types of map, various components of map, and then finally about how sketch and plan enter the picture. Okay, so let's start. The very first thing that you will also find in your NCERT textbook is imagining that you are going to visit this imaginary small city. And what do you see in this city? Suppose you are traveling by train and you have arrived at this railway station over here. Now from this railway station you can travel to the hospital, to the school, to the market over here, to the Nagar Panchayat, see the apartments, again the playground, bank and museum, and there are road over here you can see. Okay, however, in order to go to these different places, how will you know which place is where? How will you know? You are just staying in the railway station for the time being. How will you know that you have to move in this direction to go to this bank? Okay, and see there are three routes, 1, 2 and 3 various routes. So the question is, how will you know? Well, what you can do is you might ask a local person for help, or even better, you can look at the map of this place which you are looking at right now. So this is the map. Now in this map you will find the very first question of this textbook, which is related to this imaginary map. So the first question is, mark the hospital. Of course, this is the hospital at which I have marked over here, and then the blue colored areas, this is water body. As you can see from the itself, the wavy feature, this is the water body, some lake, something like that. Fine. So next question is, which is farthest away from the railway station? The school, the Nagar Panchayat, or the public garden? Now here we have asked about farthest distance. See, the distance I have covered here in a way through arrows. So this you can clearly see that this is the shortest arrow. So in a way the school is the closest to the railway station and the farthest one is the public garden. However, if we have to talk about practicality, then that means you have to walk from, or you can use a car or a vehicle while traveling from railway station. Then see, this is the line, this is the entire distance to school, this one is the entire distance to Nagar Panchayat, and regarding this is the longest route here, see, to the public garden. So from this land distance you can clearly say that again public garden is the furthest one. Okay, so we have just seen an example of a very basic map, a very basic one, this map. So what did we understand? We understand now that basically the map is a representation. Okay, representation or a drawing of some area. It may be a small area, a town or village, or even a bigger area, or even a very large area like our country, India. In a map, we look at the surface as if we are viewing from the top, a very high view. Okay, now where have you seen these maps? You have seen this in the atlas. And what is an atlas? Atlas is a book or a collection of maps. Fine. So let us again recap. A map is a representation of the earth's surface or a part of it on a flat surface according to a scale. Now here comes the minor details. Scale, we will talk about it in a few minutes. Okay, so but before that, let's see some examples of smaller region. So maps of smaller regions. Here you can see this is one such map. This is a water body, a river maybe. This green shows a land, and these are the areas, and these small boxes, houses. These green ones are trees also. Similarly, this is a sort of forest over here. Okay, and these are small houses. You can see houses of different colors. Maybe this is a warehouse also, and this is where people live also. Okay, so in a way these are incomplete. Why? Because there is nothing written about the color itself. However, this is a very basic map. However, on this map you can see the directions. So this is the north direction, this is the south direction. At least the direction is here. This is the west, and this is the east. At least this one is mentioned. So this is a very basic map. A little bit more advanced is this one. Fine. Now let us look at yet another example of a smaller region, but here this time see the difference. New house and old house, the distinction is made, and also see the scale. This is what I am saying. Two important points. One is regarding the type of the houses. See the box with cross marks and the open boxes. Open boxes are new houses, and the box with cross mark, they are basically old house. And regarding the scale, so this means this entire distance is 200 meter. So say for example, this place to this place is approximately 200 meter, and then from here to here this is approximately I am saying 400 meters. So this place is approximately 400 meters from this place. Okay, so this is how you try to understand a map. Again, the sense direction is mentioned over here. See the north. Okay, now this one here it is written north, so this one is north, and so this means that this one is south. Okay, fine. Now let us look at yet another example, but this is a much bigger map. Now this is an example of a very old world map. World map means the entire world is shown over here, and this is basically the double hemisphere world map by Petrus Plancius. This was made in 1594. Wow, such an old map it is. And where do you think we are in this map? You can see over here, this is where India is. Fine. Now in this map, try to see something. What you find additionally are these lines. See these lines. Okay, and we will talk about these lines, why they are present, in the next video. But for the time being, just observe what is there in this particular map. Okay, various continents are there. Fine, good. It is very written, names may be different, other details are also mentioned, but it cannot be seen over here. Now let us look at a more recent map, a more simpler one. So this is yet another example of world map, much simpler one. Various continents are mentioned over here, right? And this is where we are over here, right, in India. Good. Now let's move to the next topic, which is how many types of map are there. So there are basically three types of map: physical, political, and thematic. So let's start with the physical first. Well, you see, this is an example of a physical map over here. Again, see the bottom side over here. This map is not to be scaled. This is important. So there is no scale over here. Map not to be scaled is written. Now in physical maps, the different colors, you see, this is not in black and white. So different colors are there. First thing to observe is not to scale. Next thing, different colors. What do they mean? Different colors and symbols as well are used, which represent different landforms and bodies of water. Say for example, mountains and hills, plateaus and plains, oceans and seas, rivers and lakes. So this color is for, say, this region. See, no, this is not. This is just a way of representation. Actual meaning is written over here. Okay. Okay. Now, in order to convince you so, let us zoom on this physical map. Let us make a zoom. So this is a zoomed version. See here, this is the legend or the signs and symbols. This is the international boundary. This is the state boundary, various state boundaries. This is the country capital. This is mentioned. And this is the river. They are very small, but you can see. Again, this is the mountain peak. Here you can see 2 mountain peaks or so. And most importantly, this map is not to be scaled. See, this is the international boundary also. Fine. So let's move to the next map, which is a political map. Now, as usual, what do political maps depict? They depict boundaries between continents, boundaries between countries, boundaries between various states. State boundary. Again, country boundary. Okay, here. Boundary between various cities, which is not shown. And again, they also show country and their state capitals. This dot you see, this is Hyderabad, capital of the state Telangana, in this way. So, political maps basically represent political divisions or human created boundaries and other human made features. Fine. Let's move to the third map, which is a thematic map. Again, what do they depict? They depict climate zones, vegetation types, land use, transportation networks. Unfortunately, these are not covered in 6th class. You will find it in the higher classes. Tourist attraction, natural disasters, national parks, wildlife reserves. Fine, so many things. Right. Various themes and topics can be specified using this thematic map. See, national capital, major cities, railway network is shown over here. Major railway network. So basically, thematic map focus on a specific theme or topic rather than simply showing geographic features like rivers or mountains. Okay, next part of our class is regarding components of a map. What are the various components? Here we have seen few. See, symbols, legends, colors, directions also. See here, north, south, east, west, directions are present. So let us talk about it. The major components are number 1, distance, then direction, and finally symbol. Okay, first, distance and scale. You see, the earth is very big, so it can never be mapped in its true size. Understand? So we reduce the size of the part of the earth that has to be mapped. Say for example, here this is the satellite image of the earth. Okay, and here a cyclone in the Bay of Bengal is brimming up and soon it will proceed. Now, if we want to, is it possible to draw something like this in a paper? Where will we find such a large sheet of paper? And what is the most important thing? Practicality. Instead, let us make it, let us reduce this. See, this is a reduced version of this map. Although this is a theme, sort of what? Physical map in a way. You see, it shows the various physical features, rivers and mountain ranges also. So this is a reduced map of the actual India, right? And this is a physical map. So you see, when we reduce any large area of the earth to something smaller according to a particular value, that value is called scaled. So what we mean is that we reduce the entire thing by the same scale. Say for example, I am reducing the entire thing, say by 10,000 times. Now it's not that I will reduce this part by 10,000 times and I will reduce this part by say 1000 times. No, when you do the scaling everywhere. So you reduce the entire thing by 10,000 times. You understand? Now, in a scale, there is always a proportion between the dimensions of the map and the actual area they represent. We will talk about it in a few minutes. Okay, now there are two types of scales. One is large scale. These maps are used to show very small area with greater details. See, a small area, this is a road map of Bangalore, and very much details are there. Next, we have a small scale map. Here, this map are used to show very large area. So this is the entire area of India is shown. However, you will not find the details of particular cities, their roads, wherever rivers are there, plateau, mountains, you will not find it, because it's not possible to show this in such a small area. Okay. So now let's move forward regarding scale and distance. You see, the actual distance between two points represented in the map depends on the scale that the map is using. When the scale is shown in lines, it is called a linear scale. Another method of representing a scale on the map is by a representation fraction. In this case, the scale is given as a fraction. Say for example, here I just talked about, say, this small, say, here the representation scale, if I used 1:10,000, then it will mean that this distance will actually mean a distance of 10,000 in this map. So here this distance of say 5 millimeter will mean 5 millimeter into this number. So this is the representation. On the other hand, let me go back to the imaginary map or so. Here, where have we seen? Yeah, here. See, this is yet another example of scale. Here this distance is 200 meter. So the distance from this place to this place is approximately twice of that, of this distance. So this distance is 400 meters. You understand? Fine. Let's move forward. We have talked about representation fraction. Now, the ratio between the map distance and the ground distance is called the scale of the map. Every map has its own scale. Depending on the map can be categorized into large scale map and small scale maps, which we have seen. Fine. Now here, this again imaginary city map. Suppose each centimeter of the map as printed represents a certain distance on the ground. Let us say 500 meters. Then we can say that the scale here is 1 centimeter equal to 500 meter. You understand? This is an example of a scale. So as I was saying, the scale can be represented in three ways. I am again doing a recap. The first is graphic or linear scale. The line marked on the units representing the real distances on the map. Next is, see, like this, representative fraction. So 1 unit is equal to 10,000 units on the map. Next is statement of a scale. It shows that 1 centimeter on the map represents 100 kilometers on the ground. This is the case for the imaginary city. Fine. Okay. Say for example here in this map, see the bottom right, this distance is approximately 500 kilometers. Okay. Now the next component of map is direction and cardinal points. You see, there are 4 cardinal or main directions. See, what are they? They are basically north, south, east and west. Fine. Now the directions in between these points are, say, between north and west is northwest, between north and east is northeast, between east and south, the convention is south you have to say south first, so it will be southeast. Similarly, that the direction between west and south should be named southwest. Okay, they are known as intermediate points. So these are intermediate points, these four. Now on the top corner of any map there is an arrow marked N. This arrow represents the north direction or the north line. So if you see a map, here nothing is written, just this symbol and just N is written. So you will have to understand that this is the north direction, and you have to remember this photograph, and from there you will be able to find about the other directions. Fine. You see, the instrument used to find direction is called a compass. A magnetic compass is also called mariner's compass, as it is used by sailors, and this is the actual photograph of a compass. See? Next, the third component of a map, which is signs and symbol. Now maps use a set of standard signs and symbols that are internationally accepted. These are called the conventional symbols. In physical maps, different colors show different landforms. Green is used for low form, brown for highlands, blue for oceans and seas, and so on. See here, railway line, broad gauge, meter gauge, railway station. This is railway station. Road, metered and unmetered. Metalled and unmetalled. So this is metalled road, this is unmetalled road. This is the river symbol, this is the well symbol, this is tank symbol, this is canal symbol. Now this is the symbol for trees, this is the symbol for grass. This is the symbol for settlement, this is the symbol for graveyard. Okay, there are so many symbols. Now again let us consider question from the textbook. Consider the map of the small city again. Identify the correct and incorrect statements in the list below. The first is the market is not to the hospital. You see this figure. Where is the market? Here. And this is the hospital. So which direction? The market is, come on, it's in the south direction. See this direction. So market is in the south direction to the hospital. Next is museum. The museum, you see, this is in the southeast. See this is roughly in this direction from here. So it is in the southeast. So it is true. The first one is false. The railway station is northwest to the hospital. This is the railway, this is hospital. So it is in this direction. And that direction is NW, northwest. Lake. The lake is northwest to the apartment block. See, this is the apartment and this is the lake. Again this is false. See, because this is southwest. Now here in this particular direction along with northwest you will find north-northwest. See, west-northwest. These smaller directions as well you can find. Interesting. Okay, so now again colors, different colors that we have talked about. Brown represents mountains and hills, yellow represents desert and plateaus, green represent plains and lowlands, and blue represent water bodies in general. Okay, now the final part of today's talk, which is regarding the difference between map, sketch and plan. Map we have already talked about. Let us do a recap. So map is basically a scaled and detailed representation of a large area showing various geographical features. So they are basically true graphical representations of the whole or part of the earth. They are drawn on a flat surface, usually on paper, canvas cloth or even wood. Now maps are a distorted representation as compared to globe, which we will talk about later on. And maps can be used to show a very small part of the earth, like a state or country or a very large area. So their applicability can be very small to very large part. Say they can also show a whole continent or even the world itself, world map that we have seen. Next is sketch. A sketch is basically A rough freehand drawing used to quickly convey ideas or illustrate features without detailed accuracy. So the accuracy is much lower compared to that of map. Although this is a sort of map but not complete, because it shows only outlines of an area without providing enough details. It can be drawn without using a scale. This is important. No scale is involved. No scale. And it is a rough drawing and the distances are not accurate according to any scale. No scale. Understand? This is sketch. And then we have the plan. What is a plan? You have seen plan of apartment buildings, of a flat or so. A plan is basically a precise scale drawing of a small area focusing on the layout and dimensions. Living room dimension plan. Okay, living room plan, kitchen plan, you might have seen. Now, so a plan is a representation of an area with reduced measurement scale. It could be a plan of a house, classroom, multi-story building, or even a monument. And measurements are clearly mentioned, as using a scale is necessary for making a plan. Okay, so overall we have covered, and we have now come to the last part of this first talk on the first chapter, first part of this talk. And this is the concept map. So we started our discussion on map, then we have talked about sketch, plan, we have talked about various types of map, physical, political, thematic, various, the three components of map. We have talked about distance, direction and symbol. Again, regarding the distance, we have talked about small and large scale map. Again, we have talked about compass, cardinal directions and so. Thank you.